Hello, everybody. It's Colonel Steve Akley, and I'm here at my place, the ABV Barrel Shop, suburban St. Louis, and would love for you to come by here and visit. We are a whiskey store, and I think we've got the best whiskey in the world. We focus on American whiskey, so you're talking about American single malts, you're talking about bourbons, of course, and of course, American ryes as well. So love for you to come by, taste our whiskey. That's one thing that you can do here in terms of our barrel picks. You can try before you buy, and please do that if you are ever in the St. Louis area. The Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. I think potentially it has the opportunity to be one of the greatest accomplishments in bourbon. Now, that being said, for some reason, it doesn't quite live up to that standard. I think people that do go in are certainly very happy to go in, but I think that there's opportunities for them to do better. I've got like a list of 15 people that I think need to go into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. And these are people that they're at the point in their career where they should be in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, not like down the road. So you look at somebody like, I don't know, throw out like Elizabeth McCall. She's on the trajectory to be a Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Famer. She's still very early in her career. I think she will definitely be in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame at some point, but I'm not talking about individuals like that. I'm talking about people who are at a time in their career where they've already done the things that they need to do to get in, and it is time for them to go in. So I think if you can, do a Hall of Fame and talk about 15 people that need to go in, I think that, you've got to reevaluate what you're doing. And hopefully at some point the KDA does that. They run the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. They do a great job as far as an organization. They do a great job with the Bourbon Hall of Fame. I've been to 2 induction ceremonies. They are great. Like I said, the people that go in, it's very exciting for them. And it's a capstone of their career, as it should be. You're getting recognized by your peers. This idea that it'll last forever, I think, is very cool too. But, at some point, I'd love to see them take over something and some sort of building where you can go in and you can see the people, their, some sort of monument to each of them that have gone into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, read about their history. They've done a little bit more of that on the website than they had in the past, but we would love to just see a little bit more in depth in terms of remembering these individuals. So that's another thing they can do. I have been involved in getting 2 individuals in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. And how I've done that, I want to be very clear, it was all just by pounding the drum, by reminding people what they've done, why they deserve to go in there. The fact I literally have nothing to do with them being in the Bourbon Hall of Fame, really. It's all about what they've done, and that's what gets them in there. I just served as a little bit of a reminder of, let's not forget, these individuals did these things. So first one I ever got involved with was Freddie Johnson. Of course, that's an easy one, right? Freddie Johnson absolutely belongs in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. And I think the fact that, he wasn't in the Hall of Fame for a while is kind of ridiculous as we look back now. We can't imagine a career without Freddie being in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. So, but he wasn't, and I pointed that out and kept talking about it till, lo and behold, he went in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, which is very cool. Bonded me with Freddie for life. We are literally best friends, and I always appreciate him, and I know he appreciates what I did, again, in terms of getting the information out there. The next one that I did was Jerry Dalton. Jerry Dalton had worked for Jim Beam. He retired at a time when social media wasn't a big thing and stuff like that. So he kind of flew under the radar, and he, for various reasons, number one, he just wanted to make a change and get out of the industry. And then number 2 was his wife was dealing with some health issues, and he ended up being her caretaker. And he wasn't really involved doing a bunch of the interviews and panel sessions and going to bourbon festivals and stuff like that. He was taking care of his wife. To his credit, it just shows what a great man he is that he put everything aside and did that. He actually came on a show of mine after I had done a show about him, say about his career, and say, don't forget what he had done. At some point, he did a Google search of his own name. I guess that's something that we all do from time to time, right? And found that this show was out there, and he came, contacted me and said that he'd be willing to come on the show. So we had him on, maintained contact with him. At that time, I asked him, hey, you belong in the hall. You want some help? And he said no. I don't have time for that. If there'd be a ceremony or something like that, I couldn't go. Again, he was taking care of his wife, who was dealing with dementia issues, kind of final stage stuff. And you know what it's like. You can't leave your house when you are responsible for someone who can't take care of themselves. And that's where he was at in life. And he didn't want to have any focus on that. He wanted 100% of his focus to be on his wife and helping her out. To his credit. Now, after she passed away, he reached out to me and said, hey, if you're willing to do something, to get an awareness campaign out about me, I would love it. And I did a whole movie, which was cool. I literally did a movie about, Jerry and his career, and it was successful. The right person saw it, that right person being Fred No, if you can imagine, of Jim Beam. And Fred had kind of thought that, Jerry was just in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. So when he found out that he wasn't, he worked to rectify that. He called me, and then he said, hey, I'm going to, call the KDA, I'm going to call our marketing people, and we're going to make this right. And he literally said, we're going to make this right, or else, we're out of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. Every Beam family member. Well, believe it or not, when I heard that, I said, Jerry Dalton's going to the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. And it happened, which is so cool. And, it's touching that he was able to go in and enjoy that. He's got a son and daughter. They, got to be there and see that. And they got to see their dad recognized. And again, he kind of retired long ago enough that, I don't think that they knew the love that bourbon fans have for the people that make the whiskey. And it was good for them to be able to see, the love that he did have in the industry, because he had moved on. He wasn't in the industry anymore. So that was a cool story there. And then for the last 3 years, I've been working on getting my buddy Jason Brauner in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. He deserves it. He's the owner of Bourbon's Bistro. He's also one of the owners of Buzzard's Roost, the whiskey brand. And I think that he belongs. I mean, if you look at what he's done with Bourbon's Bistro, the great bourbon bar / restaurant, it's an amazing place. And it really has brought in thousands and thousands of fans into bourbon. Because you go there and you sit at the bar and you're drinking, it's kind of like an educational seminar. Whether it's Mike, the bartender, or it's Jason himself, you guys are going to be talking whiskey and you're going to be learning and appreciating it. And, and not only just, the fact that it was a bourbon bar, and really kind of one of the first ones, the pioneers of focusing on bourbon, not just whiskey. There's always been whiskey bars, but this concept of a bar that focused on bourbon. He might be the first. There's some dispute of that there's a couple others that say, we were bourbon bars first. I don't really know. I don't know that anybody really knows at this point. And really, isn't that part of bourbon, the lore and stories and stuff like that? So he was certainly early on in being a bourbon bar. He's one of the first to do barrel picks, and that's just kind of one of his ideas. Hey, we should buy by the barrel. I think if there's a flavor profile we like, and so he started contacting distilleries asking if he could do barrel picks. Most of them didn't have barrel pick programs at that time. It wasn't a thing. It's crazy to think about today. So commonplace. Heck, I've got a store that I'm in right now that focuses just on barrel picks. Not a big deal back in 2005 when he was getting rolling. So he literally, changed the industry there. There's other things he did too. Right out of the gate, he was doing whiskey flights. Again, commonplace now. You think, well, every bar I go to does whiskey flights. They weren't doing it in 2005. Brauner was the first guy to bring the concept of flights, which was done in wine. Then we saw it go to beer. And he was the first really doing it in whiskey, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, one of the things that he did literally the first week that he started was bourbon dinners. To focus on the people of bourbon, talk to them about their process, what they do, what makes them different, and all that. And literally, he would do those once a month, and he did them for many years. And again, we think everybody does that kind of stuff. That's we do that stuff even here at the shop. But the first person doing that kind of stuff was Brauner. And I think because of the work that he's done there, and now that we see what he's been able to do with Buzzard's Roost, and he's part of the KDA and the Bourbon Trail, and he's got a brand that's well respected. It's rolling out throughout many markets across the U.S. I think that he's a no-brainer, a slam dunk for the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, and I hope he makes it. I think that, you look at an area that brings bourbon fans, I think he's in one of those sectors that are underrepresented in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. So I hear good things about his chances this year. You never know, though, until the announcement comes out, hey, Jason Brauner's in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. I hope it happens. I know that Brauner, a very proud man, would love that. He also is not one that likes to be a self-promoter. So if you asked him about himself, he'd be very evasive and probably self-deprecating. But he deserves it, and I hope this is the year of Jason Brauner. And now I got to get to work on some other ones. I got a contact recently from somebody who wants help with a high-profile individual, and that'll be the next one I'm working on. And I may put out a little thing this year about this individual and see what happens. I'm not sure where they're at on the voting. And I don't know Lumian when they're voting and stuff. I know it all happens like this time of the year in the spring. Then it gets announced in like June. And then, of course, the event is in September. So we'll see what happens. And hopefully we start getting some of these people that deserve to be in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame.